Heavenly Father, grant that we who would seek to serve you may have the wisdom of your Spirit, the guiding of your hand, and the grace to serve together for the prosperity of our city, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. National Anthem. Australians, oh, let us rejoice. Fair. Please be seated. Attendance apologies, nil. Leave of absence, nil. Condolences, nil. Mayoral minute, nil. Confirmation, 5.1. Council meeting, 24th October. Any amendments there, councillors? Councillor Owen-Jones.
Mr Mayor, I don't have an amendment, but I do have a question. I don't know if you want to deal with it now or as business arising.
We'll do it as business arising. Okay. I just want to concentrate on corrections. No correction. Someone like to move for adoption? Councillor Tozer, Councillor Peter Young, second. All in favour? Show of hands. Against? Carry. Unanimous. Special meeting. Yeah. Any corrections? Someone like to move? Councillor Peter Young, seconder Councillor Tozer. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carried. Mayor's report. There's one. Councillor, I'll do an abridged version, the details which will be submitted, and you can really digest it in your time. Councillors, on the 18th September, I met with Starlux Airlines. It's a relatively new airlines, really top-class equipment, everything. The idea is to let them look at the direct flight from Taipei to the Gold Coast. And they like the idea, but they've just got to connect some other more populous area first. So we're on the map there with them. Taiwan market update, met with Patrick Heffenstein, our Trade Commissioner, and Taiwan is Australia's 7th largest two-way trade partnership, and we're going to work hard to increase our international students from Taiwan. Next one, Gene Company in Taipei. They're in biotech startups, and they're entering now commercial partnership with Griffith University. Next is Global Talent Investor. There were 25 investors who basically look at global talent visas and ready to set up business branch office in Queensland. And of course, I'm saying the Gold Coast is where to be. Meeting with Commissioner of Department of Education and from Taipei Municipal and Vocation High School, and to increase our sister city relationship and to get more international students from that school. Next one, T-Hub visit, Vivian Chen. She's Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Economic Development, and and the T-Hub is a co-working space, and we're sharing how to do our startups in both cities. Next one, meeting with Taipei Mayor, Mayor Cheng Wang-Ang, but I call him Wayne, and the Deputy Mayor Li Shu-shan, and he's the youngest mayor in Taipei, and we reflect on our sister city agreement spanning over 41 years, and we will continue about education memorandum of understanding between Study Gold Coast and Taipei's Department of Education, koala loan agreement with Taipei Zoo and Kurrama Wildlife Sanctuary, and we'll still continue with the annual book exchange between Taipei City Library and City Gold Coast Libraries. Mayor Chung is the youngest Taipei mayor ever elected, and I looked at the name, I thought, oh, are you related to Chiang Kai-shek, who was a founder of Taiwan back in the days, the revolution, and he's the great-grandson. So the dynasty carries on. Meeting with Sayo Group, and it's a private-owned Australian company that began operation in '99, and it's affiliated with Taiwanese Powerjar Group, and they're looking to invest and develop, and now they will look at the Gold Coast to do some investment. Tourism partner dinner, and we host 14 and trade partners for tourism. So I explained that obviously Taiwan and Taipei and us has a lot of tourism exchange that we can do. Meeting with Lion Travel, the same thing. They're the prominent Taiwanese travel agency since 1977 with 100 outlets across Taiwan. So we want to elevate the Gold Coast to be top of their list. Meeting with Breeze Group, met with Henry Lau, who actually looking to invest here. I looked around, there was a lot of Breeze shopping centres right through Taipei. So I said, well, it's about time you breeze into the Gold Coast. So he's coming over, and I'll just show him around and see if he wants to open another shopping centre. Next, we went to Chengdu, and Niet Group and Chengdu Polytechnic MOU signing, and it's all about education and study Gold Coast. Meeting with Chengdu government, Ms. Bao Hill, she's chairperson of the Standing Committee of Chengdu Municipal People's Congress. We spoke about education, MOU, Study Gold Coast, and Chengdu Education Bureau. So, and of course, continue on with Griffith University Institute of Glycomics, joint venture with Olimvax Pharmaceuticals in China, and future opportunities in tourism, health, and medical. And we blink, and our sister city relationship with Chengdu is now grown to be 4 years. And they just held the world, I think, athletic championship, and they made it look like the Olympics. So I congratulate them on that. Meeting with Chengdu education companies. So we had 200 education and training institution, and so out there to market. Congratulations to Study Gold Coast, which is now Study, Experience Gold Coast. Meeting with Deputy Consul General Nina Dion and Paul Cheney, Australian Trade Commissioner. So we work as a team, getting the latest update, and we both agree there's further education is our focus. Meeting with Sichuan Shipping and Port Group, Pro-Asia Investment. They are cashed up, and we're looking to for them to come over and do further investment here on the Gold Coast. Chengdu Tishian Industry Group, and advanced manufacturing plant, and they show us their space age actually, and I said, well, we got our space age here too on the Gold Coast, so I invite them to come and have a look, and they will. Experience Gold Coast meet and greet on the 1st of November, and I joined the board there at Broadbeach Community Centre, and was well received with all the staff from every part of Experience Gold Coast. Gold Coast Waterway Authority was 10-year celebration. Heaps of councillors were there. Councillor Hamill, LaCastro, Curtis, McDonald, O'Neill, Patterson, Owen Jones, Pauline Young. Anyone else? Councillor Taylor, of course, in your patch. So 10-year reflection of the Gold Coast Waterway Authority, and good. We got split master plan. We've done a lot of through there joint investment, like the mega yacht facilities, and there's a lot more to come. Then Paul McCartney got back tour. I think Councillor Petty Young and McDonald and O'Neill attended. Yeah, okay, all good. 30,000 people, estimated $4 million into our local economy. And next will be Pink on the 20th of February. Screen Industry Sunset Network event, attended by Councillor Castro, Tozer, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor Patterson. Anyone else there? Councillor Owen Jones, and it was good fun, and it's good to see they're very buoyant in the film industry, and we share a little bit of what the Gold Coast is doing. We've got the Gold Coast, we established the Gold Coast Film Commission. This will be led by Gina Black, and so that means Screen Queensland and Ozfilm, they can all work together and getting more events to more production to happen here on the Gold Coast. Citizenship ceremony, that was on the 8th of November, 801 new citizens, and I know the one, that was your husband there, Councillor Patterson. Roger was there. I met him afterwards. He's so pleased, and it surprised him how joyful of an event it is. So wonderful. Gold Coast, oh, another voter. Okay. Gold Coast Urban Design Awards, Councillor Patterson, O'Neill, Councillor Pauline Young in attendance. And the award was held every 3 years, different forms of building. Congratulations to all the nominees and all the winners. I think the Gold Coast City Council took a couple of awards as well, so congratulations to the staff involved. And then we had a visit from Trafalgar Entertainment Meeting. I welcome Sir Howard Panter, Tim McFarlane and Andrew Hill. And basically, Sir Howard and Dame Rosemary Swire is the founder of this company. They've got 1,500 staff. They've got theatre all over the UK, in about 14 of them. They've got Theatre Royal in Sydney. So they really know their stuff, and it's wonderful to do a follow-up meeting, because I met them in London. They came out here, and they are very excited about what's happening at Hodder. And so I'll leave that with the CEO to negotiate maybe some outcomes. Remembrance Day. Ruth and I attended Remembrance Day at Southport. I think Councillor Castro was there. Anyone else there? Roger was there. Eh? Oh, you all went to... Yeah. No, I'm just saying about the one that was at Southport. Anyway, laid the wreath on behalf of the city to honour the sacrifice of those who serve for our freedom. And I'm sure a lot of you did in your areas. Recycling Week. We launched National Recycling Week at Benow State School. And what you see in front of you are that they've created blankets out of chips packets. They iron it together. It's double-sided and it's got reflective, so it's like a moon blanket. It's quite warm. You put it around yourself. That's the number 5 one, and they're going to continue to do that. Really great effort. National Recycle Week runs until November 19th. Councillors, I move my Mayor's report be welcome and noted. Seconder, Councillor Gates, put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, carry, unanimous. Clarification of members. Councillor Owen-Jones. There's not. Oh, business arising. Okay, no clarification, Neil. And then we go to business arising from the minutes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We had a special council meeting and we discussed a strategic investment opportunity, and the decision of the council also included that the Chief Executive Officer would provide council updates on the transaction at each council meeting. And I was just wondering administratively how that is going to appear. Will it be a standing item as other business, or how do you expect that will progress?
Take it on notice? Yeah. Take it on notice. Right. Presentation. Councillor Pauline Young.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The 2023 Institute of Public Works Engineers Australasia Queensland Excellence Awards. The city received not 1 but 2 awards. So the first one being for the first recipient is Renee Wise, and she received it for being Women in Engineering recipient for 2023. Renee is a passionate leader within the technical field of traffic engineering and currently leads the Transport Network Management Business Unit. Renee has over 17 years of experience in traffic engineering and transport. She's a registered professional engineer of Queensland and is a recognised expert traffic engineer. Renee has helped shape the approach to managing traffic operations and has been instrumental in implementing innovative local area traffic management and traffic engineering treatments to improve the safety and operation of the Gold Coast Transport Network. And it's wonderful that we're presenting this award this morning, having just come from the Gold Coast Women in Business Awards and seeing so many successful women in our city. To have one in amongst us as Renee, it's a great thing for the city, and she's doing some amazing work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr Mayor. And the next one is projects 5 million to 10 million for the Surface South Ocean Way project. This award, the officers in attendance will be Tyrone Gerarda, Leon Arakelian, I think it is, hopefully, yeah, and Josh Barbera. The 1.6 kilometres of Surface South Ocean Way project forms part of the overall Gold Coast Ocean Way 36-kilometre network of shared use paths between the New South Wales border and the Gold Coast Seaway. The City of Gold Coast's Ocean Way network provides a healthy and environmentally friendly way for people, including those with mobility or vision impairments, to explore the Gold Coast, beaches and places of interest along the coastline. The Surface South Ocean Way is a testament to the City of Gold Coast's commitment to delivering outstanding facilities for its residents and visitors, and to quote you, Mr Mayor, leaving no one behind. The project was delivered by Transport and Infrastructure, but it was the One City administration approach that overcame the challenges, including legal ones along the way. More than 6,500 pedestrians per day have used per day or per week?
Per day.
Per day, yeah.
Per
Have
day's
used
good.
the. I'm going to go with per day because it's fantastic. Thank you. Per day, have used the Oceanway since it opened in December 2022. Congratulations to our 3 team members, and what a wonderful, wonderful addition to the Oceanway within our city.
Congratulations. Thank you, Councillor Pauline Young. Yep. Okay, conflict of interest, item 10. For external purposes, is there any? None? We'll move on. Reception of committee minutes, so we'll go to Lifestyle and Community Committee, to the Chair, Councillor Vorster.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I move that the report of the Lifestyle and Community Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 31st of October 2023, covered by recommendations 1 through 9, be received.
Seconder, Councillor Curtis. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, carried. Okay, councillors, any items you want to deal separately? Councillor Gates.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Excuse me. I have item 7.3, please. Just for a declaration, Mr Mayor.
Okay, no problem. We'll go to 7.3, councillors.
And Mr Mayor, this related to the city's significant contracting plan, and there was attachment at the back that listed a number of companies involved. And at committee I made the declaration, first off, have we placed design up that are listed as being involved in some of the projects that the council is embarking on.
Okay.
The Place Design provided the report into the Robina Central Economic Role. I'm not sure that that's actually correct. Sorry, Mr Mayor, I think that that description related to another issue.
How about this one?
No, I do have a declaration on Place Design, Mr Mayor, but I think that one, I'm just checking the attachment. It was not Robina, so if we could just take that out of the Place Design declaration. Place Design
I mentioned, yeah. And
they're mentioned in the Washington Waters Park upgrade. They've used an old declaration, Mr Mayor, in bringing up my declaration for this report. The nature was that they were a contractor, a consultancy listed in the attachment.
Yeah.
Consultancy listed in the attachment. We've had some troubles with the declarations this round, Mr Mayor, where I got a number of them changed before full council today, where old declarations had replaced the declaration that I made at the meeting. So I'm sorry I missed this one and hadn't seen that it was.
We'll get there.
So, Mr Mayor, I declare that I received those amounts and I wish to be involved in the decision to contribute to the project.
All right. Anyone want to move procedural motion? That would be very helpful. Councillor Vorster.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to move the procedural motion which was considered at committee.
Okay. Seconder, Councillor Tozer. Could you get the procedural motion that was moved at the committee? Moved by Councillor Vorster, seconded by Councillor Tozer. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Petitions.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, it's not really apparent to me which declaration this relates, or which item this relates to. I think it's the Washington Waters Park upgrade, so I'm just seeking clarification of that, please.
It's item 7.3, which is the significant contracting plan,
Yep.
and attachment
One.
B on page 152 lists all the consultants who are involved in various projects across the city. Place Design are involved in 3 different locations: Washington Waters Park, Pizzey Park and Pizzey Park JRL, so the hub and JRL. These are all council projects and these consultants have been appointed by council. Page 152 of 7.
Clarification, just further in my quick assessment of those matters, we're just making a decision to note that these contracts have been let. We're not making a decision to actually appoint the contractor today. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. On that basis, I'll certainly support the motion in front of us.
Okay, did we find the procedural motion from the on the screen? Yep. Okay. Anyone want to speak against? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands.
Mayor Tate, Councillor Hemmel, Councillor Owen-Jones, Councillor Gates, Councillor Curtis, Councillor Peter Young. Oh, sorry. Councillor Peter Young, Councillor Patterson, Councillor LaCastra, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Vorster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor McDonald, Councillor O'Neill.
Okay. Against? Councillor Gates did not vote. Motion carried. Let's deal with 7.3, shall we? On 7.3? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. It relates to the Kirkin Road Adventure Parklands where Arcadia has been appointed as the consultant, Mr Mayor. Same details, a consultant appointed by council for a council project, and I received funding from an employee of Arcadis in 2014 and an amount of $18.50 from Arcadis in 2015. The donations are outside the relevant term. However, I make this in full transparency that I did accept those funds and an amount received in 2016 was refunded in full. I hope to stay in the room.
Councillor Vorster.
I'm very happy to move the same procedural motion. Thank you.
Councillor Tozer, seconder. Anyone speak against? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands.
Mayor Tate, Councillor Hemmel, Councillor Owen-Jones, Councillor Curtis, Councillor Peter Young, Councillor Patterson, Councillor LaCastra, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Vorster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor McDonald, Councillor O'Neill.
Against? Motion carried. Councillor Gates did not vote. Shall we deal with 7.3? Any other declaration? Councillor Owen-Jones?
I was going to move it, Mr Mayor.
Move 7.3. Seconder, Councillor Vorster. You like to speak on it, Councillor Owen-Jones? No? Anyone speak against? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Any other items you wish to deal separately?
Procedure, I think you have to
Voted in affirmative.
Oh, Councillor Gates, what did you vote? You voted for in favour. Okay. Any other items? Councillor Vorster?
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I move that the remaining recommendations of the Lifestyle and Community Committee be adopted.
Seconder, Councillor Curtis. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carried. Thank you, EGM.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
We will go to transport and infrastructure. I go to Councillor Pauline Young.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the report of Transport and Infrastructure Committee meeting held on Tuesday, the 31st of October 2023, covered by recommendations 1 to 8, be received.
Seconder, Councillor Taylor. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carried. Councillors, any item you wish to deal separately? Councillor Pauline Young.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that the recommendations of the Transport and Infrastructure Committee be adopted.
Seconder, Councillor Peter Young. The young ones. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against. Councillor McDonald, which way did you vote?
Yeah, I'm not voting.
Okay. You've got to vote something. Councillor McDonald, you've got to vote one, like you've got to go abstain. Abstaining, okay. Motion carried. Councillor McDonald abstained. Thank you, EGM. Planning Environment Committee. Okay. Councillor Hamill.
Mr Mayor, I move that the report of the Planning and Environment Committee meeting held on Thursday, November 2nd, 2023, covered by recommendations 1 to 10, be received.
Seconder, Councillor Peter Young. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against. Motion carried. Right. Councillors, any item you want to deal separately? Councillor Gates.
Apologies, Mr Mayor, but I have two declarations, one for 6.4.
Let's do 6.4.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I made this declaration at committee. It's an item that relates to Council taking over responsibility for an entry statement in Division 1, and I received donations from MJW and Villawood. Villawood were the developers of the site, and the amounts are on the screen. It related to the bond return and Council undertaking future maintenance. I requested to remain in the room because there's actually, it's unlikely to cause a gain or a loss to anyone, and the structure that we're speaking about is on council land and will be in council ownership.
Okay. Councillor Hamill.
Mr Mayor, I'm happy to move the same procedural motion I did at committee, that Councillor Gates participate in the decision.
Okay. Seconder, Councillor Peter Young. So it's the same motion in the committee. Good. Anyone speak against? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands.
Mayor Tate, Councillor Hemmel, Councillor Owen Jones, Councillor Curtis, Councillor Peter Young, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Castro, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Vorster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor McDonald, Councillor O'Neill. Against?
Motion carried. Councillor Gates did not vote. Anyone else declaring in 6.4? Let's deal with 6.4. Councillor Hamill. Moved recommendation. Seconder, Councillor Peter Young. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Howell, you want to close? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, carry, unanimous. Any other items, Councillor Gates?
Thank you. Item 6.9, which related to an extension in time, and at committee I made the declaration that Planet Consulting was a professional consultant to the project, that I accepted funds in 2014 and 15 as disclosed. There was another amount refunded in full, which is not indicated here, but was on my...
3,700.
Oh, yeah, I see, on the next page. I sought permission to remain in the room because the donations received were outside the relevant term and because of the length of time that has since elapsed, 8 and 9 years ago.
Okay, Councillor Hamill.
Mr Mayor, Councillor Vorster had an excellent set of words at committee that I'd be happy to move today.
Okay, we'll move Councillor Vorster's words.
There we go.
Seconder, anyone? Councillor Vorster. All right, there it is. Anyone speak against the motion for Councillor Gates? No? Against this one? No? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands.
Mayor Tate, Councillor Hemmel, Councillor Owen Jones, Councillor Curtis, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Castro, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Vorster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor McDonald, Councillor O'Neill.
Against? Motion carried. Councillor Gates did not vote. Oh, you did not vote, Councillor Peter Young. You have a declaration. All right, this one, the motion carried, and Councillor Peter Young did not vote. And I goes to Councillor Peter Young.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I did not vote on that matter because I similarly have a conflict of interest which was declared at committee, and I'll do so again. It's that my property is within 1.5 kilometres of the quarry. That was the subject of the item, and I've been subject to the effects of quarry blasting over the last 3 decades. I forgot to add at committee, but I'll do so now, that I've also commercially bought product from the quarry in the past. I'm seeking to be involved in the decision making because quite a number of residents in Division 5 are similarly affected and in close proximity to the quarry, and I think the public interest is best represented by my participation.
Okay, Councillor Hamill.
Thank you.
Mr Mayor, I'd move that Councillor Peter Young may participate in the decision despite the councillor's conflict of interest, because the conflict is minor and remote in nature and the public interest is better served by his participation in the matter.
Seconder, Councillor Tozer. Anyone want to speak against? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands.
Mayor Tate, Councillor Hamill, Councillor Owen Jones, Councillor Curtis, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Castro, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Vorster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor McDonald, Councillor O'Neill.
Against? Motion carried. Councillor Gates and Councillor Peter Young did not vote. Councillor Owen Jones.
Move it, and if I have a second, I'll speak to it.
Okay, moved Councillor Owen Jones, seconded Councillor Hamill.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a further extension for up to 2 years for the operations of the Oxenford Quarry, which is currently subject to a Planning and Environment Court appeal. The city is defending an earlier decision to refuse. And when we, shortly after we refused it, we gave a 2-year period. We need a further extension of time. This has been vetted by the city's solicitors, and there's one thing I'd just like to bring to the attention of the council, and that is that when we gave the first extension, we said no more than 13 blasts per annum. There's a requirement for the Planning and Environment Court's experts that have been appointed by both sides to do further geology work, which is an additional blast. So rather than the CEO approving the additional blast, we brought it to council for that to happen. So whilst that is a minor inconvenience to the residents of Oxenford, I think it's important in regards to resolving the technical information that the court needs in regards to the appeal that's currently on foot, Mr Mayor.
Anyone speak against the motion? Councillor Owen Jones, I take that as closed. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Councillor Tozer, which way did you vote? Yeah. Okay, then it's unanimous. Okay. Any other item you wish to deal separately, Councillor Tozer?
I think I just wanted to take out 6.2 and move the committee recommendation, if it's okay.
6.2. Move seconder. Councillor Vorster. Okay.
Mr Mayor, this matter relates to tourist parks and caravan parks across the city that might be described as, to at least to some extent, affordable housing for the city. And frankly, I'm, 3 of the parks that are the subject of this report are in the division I represent. The reason I've stood, because I think it actually is critical that as we embark on this, we bring some attention to the necessity for multiple agencies to be involved in this process. There's no doubt in some of the caravan parks we're talking about living standards below what people would accept as reasonable, I think, in some instances. And some of these people who live in these substandard dwellings that are very close to other substandard dwellings have chosen to live there, but have also been in a situation where they're facing issues in their community of substance abuse or mental health issues, and that has meant that sometimes it's quite difficult to provide the services that some of these people might need or might not need. The reason I've stood up is because I think I had the pleasure of taking 2 of the lead authors out to the Mudgebuck Caravan Park, which has not got the best reputation. over the past decade. But in the past 18 months or thereabouts, the new owners of that park have taken some really phenomenal steps to improve the standard of living, arrange for people who would otherwise potentially be committing illegal activities to go to places that are better for them, or get the mental health services that they need. It was great to have the team come in there. I think as we did the tour with these two authors of the report, the officers opened their eyes to the complexity of what was being proposed. Sometimes when you propose a report to improve fire safety, you don't realise that the things we're delivering fire safety for involve humans living in them who have really unique and complex needs sometimes. And so by doing this tour, we're able to, I think, adjust some of the plan and also put some support services around our council officers who will embark on this project. But most importantly, this project cannot really be delivered without the support of the state government. And frankly, I think at the moment, some of their social housing actions, whilst, they sometimes look quite good, perhaps the help on the ground has not been good. In fact, other places around Queensland have a much higher rate of social housing available for members of the community in need than our city has. And frankly, I think this body of work will actually accentuate, amplify some of the grave need that is really incumbent on the state government to bring social housing into our community to help people who are in need. Frankly, Mr Mayor, this is an important body of work that's being done, but it's also a very complex body of work being done, and the officers have done a really good job of informing themselves about some of those complexities. And as we do embark on it, there's no doubt that there'll be some members of our community who'll be really displaced, frankly. They're living in dwellings that are at grave risk of a fire hazard, and they perhaps don't even understand how complex and how grave that risk is. And so I think it's really important that we do bring the state government into this, make sure they understand their obligations to work with us on this project, and also just remember the humanity in the work that we're doing to keep people safe, helping people get the services they need, whether it's mental health or substance abuse or whatever it is, get the help that they need in the community. That's what we're all about. I know that the authors of the report and the officers embarking on it are very cognisant of that, and I hope that councillors can be too. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone speak against the motion? Councillor Tozer, you want to close further? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, carry unanimous. Any other items separately? Councillor Pauline Young.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. 6.5 for a declaration, please.
6.5, go ahead.
It's for 6.5 Burleigh Heads placemaking plan. It's as I'm an owner of commercial property within the precinct, I will leave the room and not participate or vote on this.
Okay. Councillor Vorster.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to move the item, but I just want to take the step of bringing the room's attention to the fact that I've been pre-selected as the LNP's candidate for Burleigh at the next state election. No. I know, shock, horror. You've got rid of me, finally. But, Mr Mayor, I did bring that to the room's attention at committee, and I'm taking the further step of bringing that to full council's attention in case any council wish to deal with that procedurally.
No, not wishing you one way or another. Just thank you for bringing it to attention. Are you moving it?
As indicated, happy to move it. Thank you.
Okay. Second, Councillor Peter Young. Did you wish to speak on it?
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. I need to draw attention to the fact that this is a changed recommendation. City officers had proposed a concept plan for the future of the Burleigh Village, which has a number of aspirational projects to revitalise the urban environment in the village post-light rail. But, Mr Mayor, it was the view of the committee that many of those major initiatives would require further community consultation and consultation with local businesses after the completion of the light rail. And it might have been a bit presumptuous to lock in key initiatives before there was a built reality for people to understand, work with, and then want to adjust. What it also did, Mr Mayor, is respond to real concern around parking. We do know that the third stage of the light rail will remove up to 500 car parks along that corridor, and that's a real concern to those attempting to access the beach and also to support local businesses in Burleigh. The city officer plan could have delivered a reduction of 42 or 44 car parks in the middle of Burleigh, over and above the 500 that we're to lose with light rail stage 3. So importantly, Mr Mayor, what the change recommendation does is to stop any moves by council to reduce on-street car parking in the Burleigh CBD until such time as we complete a body of work that we've resolved to do, which is to investigate opportunities to deliver additional car parking at the Alex Black car park. So only after council has resolved its position on that car park can we entertain changes to car parking in the CBD. And lastly, Mr Mayor, part 5 of the motion addresses what must be one of the worst intersections on the Gold Coast, and that is the intersection of West Street, James Street and West Burleigh Road. It functions as one of the entry statements to James Street, but is a horrendous mess. And given its interface between the local road reserve and the state road reserve, what we're doing today is directing city officers to work with their state counterparts to see if we can have a meaningful long-term reconfiguration of that intersection to improve the pedestrian experience, but also to reduce the risk of vehicular accident, which makes a lot of sense because in transport and infrastructure, just a few items ago, we dealt with a road safety item, and this is really a road safety push. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to speak against the motion? You want to close, Councillor McDonald? You don't mind, do you, Councillor Vorster? Yield for Councillor McDonald to close? Good.
Oh, thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I didn't support the original resolution or recommendation, but certainly what Councillor Vorster put up at committee addressed most of my concerns. I did raise the issue also about on the Gold Coast Highway and that with the works that are going on there and the loss of car parks along the Gold Coast Highway in the CBD area, that it would be advantageous for those businesses along there if light rail stage 3 could address the streetscape along there whilst they were doing light rail works. And also that intersection at West Burleigh Road and West Street, any users down there know that it's a terrible intersection and it certainly has to be addressed. The major concern in my speaking with business owners in Burleigh was the loss of those car parks, not only along the Gold Coast Highway, but also the 44 car parks in James Street. And we do really need the public consultation because the businesses there are very concerned about the loss of car parks. Also, I'd just like to ask a question, Mr Mayor. The study area change has changed over a period of time, and I just wanted to clarify with council officers why those changes were made in that study area of Burleigh. They may have to take it on notice because I haven't spoken to them previously about that, okay. But I would like to ask because it has been expanded.
All right.
But in saying that, I do support the resolution or recommendation as it's come up now. I think it's much better outcome for the businesses and users of Burleigh, and there'll be that consultation all the way through now, and also looking at Alex Black Car Park about possible additional car parks there. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay. The question's taken on notice. The debate's closed. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands.
Can I have a division, please?
Against. Division's call.
Mayor Tate, Councillor Hemmel, Councillor Owen-Jones, Councillor Gates, Councillor Curtis, Councillor Peter Young, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Castra, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Vorster, Councillor McDonald, Councillor O'Neill.
Against. Motion carried. Unanimous. Could you ask Councillor Pauline Young to return, please? That's a suggestion, not a directive, CEO.
I can direct him if you like.
Councillor Vorster.
Oh, so sorry, Paul Wynne. Thanks, Mr Mayor. Happy to move item 6.7, but would like again to draw the meeting's attention to my status as a candidate at the state election and offer the room an opportunity to move any procedural motion they might see fit.
Okay. Move 6.7. Second to anyone? Councillor Peter Young. You want to speak further on that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I need to say that we all greatly value our koala population. They're under significant stress, not just because of disease, but also the risk of vehicle strike. And I think as a council, we can be very proud of the fact that we have continued to acquire additional high conservation value land to retain koala populations and genetic diversity, which is so important. We've partnered with the Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary and its hospital. We're working and have contributed towards the development of vaccines. And even in Division 8 at Buwagan Road, we have a plantation to offer food for koalas in care. I think we can be very, very, very proud of that, Mr Mayor, and so much of that work has unfolded this term. I know the work that Councillor Peter Young, for example, did on vehicle detection and warnings. That's made a real difference. And I think anything we can do to save Borrowby is probably in accordance with our 2018 legacy plan. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone want to speak against? Would you like to close further, Councillor Vorster? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carried. Unanimous. Any other items you want to deal separately? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wanted to deal 6.1 because I want to vote against the resolution.
6.1, okay. Move Councillor Hamill. Second anyone? Councillor Owen Jones. Councillor Hamill, you want to speak on that?
Very briefly, Mr Mayor, that we spent a considerable amount of time in committee discussing this dual occupancy application down in Palm Beach. There was a lot of discussion about the setbacks, the carport arrangements, the height and layout of the building, proximity of pools to a neighbouring property, and discussion around what the fencing treatment and landscaping treatment would look like. The recommendation of committee in the end was to endorse the officer position of an approval of this dual occupancy, which will allow two families to live in a high quality accommodation in Palm Beach in a great part of the city, Mr Mayor.
Speaking against the motion, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The reason why I'm speaking against this recommendation is that this is on a corner block and under the town plan the recommendation is 800 square metres and this particular block is only 551 square metres. We're having two dwellings on there, each of 4 bedrooms. And it's just not to community expectation. We've had 14 objections. There was 13 properly made. And of those objections, they were nearby residents who objected. And the main concern is about the character of the area and it's not to the expectation of the community. These 800 square metre corner blocks were put in place to allow a type of development, but I have always stood my ground about the corner blocks have to be 800 square metres. And what we're seeing is these corner blocks are getting smaller and smaller and we seem to be approving those smaller developments. Therefore, I cannot support this because I don't think it's a good outcome and I feel that it's a bad precedent to set for this city.
Okay. For Councillor Gates.
Mr Mayor, I highlighted at committee, and I'll do so again today, that this application was impact assessable. It's only a code assessable application that has the 800 square metre suggested size for a block. Anything under that becomes impact assessable and just undergoes a greater level of scrutiny by the officers. This particular application met all the requirements for setbacks, landscaping. At committee, I also asked the question about how many other potential sites within this low density area would qualify, and only 16% of the whole area are capable of a dual occupancy. So it does support council's decision to have a general scattering of development throughout the low density areas. And I do want to make note that there's a bit of a push from the state to actually loosen up the low density area quite considerably. So I think we're doing everything we can at the moment to protect the amenity of low density areas and what the expectation of those communities might be. But this one in particular, it's only 42% site cover and it meets the recommendation that we've arrived at for today.
Speaking against the motion, Councillor Lacastra.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, along the lines of Councillor McDonald said, I want to be consistent on this. I've had a couple of these more recent times, one in Benoa, which, and that was a lot bigger than this block, but it was still, mind you, the site coverage was more than 42%, but I don't need to say much on it, but I think there has to be a point where we just say this is too small, and the argument might be, well, 800 metres is that point. I understand what Councillor Gates is saying about this being code rather than, this being impact rather than code, but in the end, 551 for me, regardless of what they do to convince us to say, well, yeah, it ticks this box, it ticks this box, so therefore we can give this approval. I just can't support this on a 550 square metre block, Mr Mayor.
Speaking for Councillor Owen Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to touch on something that Councillor McDonald said about precedent, and ultimately we have a city plan that was adopted in 2016 that allows for the gentle dual occupancy off corner blocks. So in Helensvale we have 180 corner blocks which are able to be made into dual occupancies. Dual occupancy may have traditionally been referred to as duplexes, but it doesn't actually require a common wall, so that's why it's now called a dual occupancy. We've had come through to this council several applications in Helensvale, which we sent through the committee process to council, and it was unanimously supported to create this. So it's not a precedent. It might be a precedent in regards to Palm Beach. It's definitely not a precedent in regards to the city. This gentle scattering and change in density through the suburbs is actually not a bad thing. We have all sorts of people who need all sorts of different living outcomes, and sometimes if an 800 square metre block gets divided into two, or if a 600 square metre block gets divided into two, it actually provides different housing outcomes for different people. So, and generally if a 30 or a 40-year-old house gets removed and replaced with a brand new house, the street actually may improve rather than go backwards, Mr Mayor.
Against, Councillor Vorster.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I can't support this development application, but not for the reasons outlined by Councillor McDonald and Councillor Lacastra. And that is because, Mr Mayor, this particular development proposes a significantly landscaped carport. A landscaped carport. And Mr Mayor, I'm sure you'd be familiar with the architectural rendering, but for those tuning in, what the proponent proposes in this instance is to use the entire roof of the carport for a heavily vegetated garden, and it looks quite beautiful in the renderings. Absolutely, it looks stunning. But Mr Mayor, in my experience, such areas, and this is my experience as Division 11 councillor, become very, very, very difficult to maintain, because we're not dealing with a garden bed. We're dealing with an elevated garden over and above 3 metres. And in order to access it, Mr Mayor, a gardening service or the homeowners themselves would be required to push a ladder against the roof, climb up, or against the gutter, I should say, climb up and weed, replant, water and what have you. Now, Mr Mayor, I believe that creates an unreasonable safety risk, because if we're asking this homeowner to go to a height of 3.5 metres, which is above the 3 metre limit, to carry out garden maintenance, they might be at risk of fall. Now, at committee, I attempted to persuade the committee to amend the conditions of approval to include an anchor point along the structure so that anyone working at height could at least be secure while they're carrying out the gardening and not be at risk of falling and seriously injuring themselves. The committee didn't have an appetite to introduce that safety measure. These devices only cost $90 from Bunnings, I checked, and some further advice from city officers is they believe that it may be unreasonable. So unfortunately, I'm not in a position to move a changed recommendation, but I do worry that when we create very inaccessible landscaped areas, which might create a fall risk to homeowners, we might actually be putting public safety at risk. And I just would have preferred council demonstrating a bit of leadership on safety and working at height. And had we achieved that, I would have been happy to support the motion, but can't today. Thank you.
Okay. Speaking for the motion. Question, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you to our EGM, Ms Wayne. Are you able to let us know whether there was any requirement on irrigation on that carport?
Through you, Mr Mayor, Councillor Patterson, in terms of irrigation, that would be up to the private landowner. So I think that was shown in some of the plans, obviously, to keep the plants alive. But I'd have to, go back through and take notice and check the conditions on that.
Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. I have some of these in my own street, and they look great when they are managed. However, irrigation for any rooftop garden is important for it really to function. Is there a capacity for us to make a requirement that if this is approved that there is irrigation, because it effectively will not function after you may have a great gardener who takes it on the first time and then change of ownership, and this will not meet its intended state that we are voting on today?
Through you, Mr Mayor, Councillor Patterson, the way the conditions work on this development is that we are requiring that the landscaping is there. So if the landscaping was to die or it didn't survive, there is conditions that actually stipulate what types and what sizes of plants need to be there. Condition 9A does include about the rooftop planters, and it does talk about cascading species going down to have a minimum fall of 500 millimetres at the time of planting. So I'm confident in there. Generally, what we do see with these types of landscaping is they are quite hardy plants, so they don't require a lot of landscaping. I think it is very trendy on the Gold Coast at the moment. When you do drive through, you see it a lot. But happy to, I think I'm comfortable it covers it by those conditions.
Okay. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So if you could just clarify, so with that you've got in there, so if in 5 years' time, is that a matter then, if you say that the landscaping is not met, that our development compliance could address?
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, that's correct, Councillor Patterson.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hamill, Councillor, are you for or against? For, okay, Councillor Pauline Young.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I stand in support of this application today. I think we have a city plan. We've had a very high level of assessment done on this particular application, being impact assessment. We're very much a changing city, and we require a mixture of housing alternatives to accommodate all of those people within our city now and for those coming forward. With the gentle scattering in the area of 16% on corner allotments there, I believe that it meets the requirements of our city plan. And I think there's not a councillor or person in the room that wouldn't acknowledge the fact that we every day hear something in the news about the housing crisis, not just in the city, but in the whole of Australia. We need to offer alternative accommodation for the different families and the different individuals within our city, both intending to move here and invest in our city and those who are intending to move here and retire in our city. We need to accommodate for everybody, so I believe that if we've got a city plan, this has been impact assessment, we've had a high level of rigour over this application, that it's incumbent upon us as councillors to ensure that we're providing adequate accommodation going forward.
Okay, anyone speak against? Back to Councillor Hamill to close.
Mr Mayor, we have a application here for an outcome that would see 2 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2 carport dwellings built, both with enough room left for a small pool at the back as well. The renders would show that the built form outcome and landscaping outcome appears to be of very high quality, and I would hope once built we'll really see residents around there proud of that new addition to that part of Palm Beach. This is a low impact way to increase dwelling supply right across the city. As pointed out by Councillor Owen-Jones, this isn't just happening in Palm Beach, this is in every suburb across the Gold Coast. We're seeing more of this dual occupancy product. It is a low impact way to gently increase dwelling supply in suburbs and deliver renewal in those suburbs as well. As has been pointed out by a few councillors, this gives the opportunity for 2 families to now live in Palm Beach and be right in amongst what the Gold Coast has to offer, and that's a great outcome, and we look forward to welcoming those 2 new families once this is built in the future, Mr Mayor.
Okay. The debate's closed. Put to the vote. All in favour, show of hands.
Mayor Tate, Councillor Hemmel, Councillor Owen-Jones, Councillor Gates, Councillor Curtis, Councillor Peter Young, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor O'Neill.
Against?
Councillor Lacastra, Councillor Vorster, Councillor McDonald.
Motion carried. Any other items, councillors? Councillor Hamill?
Mr Mayor, I move the remaining recommendations of the Planning and Environment Committee be adopted.
Second to Councillor Gates. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Thank you, EGM. We go now to Governance, Administration and Finance. Councillor Owen-Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the report of the Governance, Administration Finance Committee meeting held on Wednesday the 8th of November, covered by recommendations 1 to 10 be received.
Second to Councillor Patterson. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Any items you wish to deal separately? Councillor Owen-Jones.
Mr Mayor, I'll just move 6.7 separately, which is the schedule of the meetings.
Okay, 6.7. Go ahead.
If I get a seconder, I'm off, Mr Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Gates.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, we actually changed the initial officer's recommendation at committee to bring forward the January full council meeting to enable us to make decisions, if required, that were clearly outside of the caretaker period that's going to turn up.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of resident inquiries in regards to some 2 large development applications that exist in Division 7, and one of those may trigger some issues in regards to the caretaker period. So we've erred on the side of caution and put us in that the last week of the committee meetings. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, just so that they were clear that there's going to be a full council meeting in January outside of the caretaker period.
Okay. Anyone speaking against? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Any other items separately, councillors? Councillor Owen-Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the remaining recommendations of the Governance, Administration and Finance Committee be adopted.
Second to Councillor Patterson. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Carried. Unanimous.
Yeah, that one.
We now go to Economic, Tourism and Events.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the report of the Economy, Tourism and Events Committee meeting held on Wednesday the 8th of November 2023, covered by recommendations 1 to 7 be received.
Second to Councillor Tozer. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Councillor Owen-Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. If we could deal with 7.3.
7.3. Okay. I have a decoration there on the screen, councillors. I'm a director of those lots and properties nearby, and perceived conflict. Keep moving it up. Yeah. So I'm volunteering to deciding not to participate and in making a decision about this matter. So Councillor Gates, could you take the chair?
Councillor Owen-Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Gates. I don't wish to move it. I just wish to vote against it.
Councillors, I'd like to go into closed session to discuss it if moved by Councillor Pauline Young. I'll second that myself. All in favour? The reason being commercial and financial matter involving the local government. So I'll take the vote now. All in favour? That is carried. Can we please turn No, we haven't. That was just to go back into open. We're not there yet. Sorry. Okay, so I need a mover. Move Councillor Tozer. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Castro. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Tozer?
Madam Chair, it is confidential, other than the words really Gold Coast Indoor Entertainment Arena, and there's multiple interested parties. At the risk of saying more than I meant to, I think it's on the public record that we're very interested in an indoor entertainment centre that can host live music and perhaps some court sports and perhaps some combat sports, and it's a principled idea that we think has great value and will add diversity to our tourism offerings. There's no doubt we've got runs on the board when it comes to attracting people to the city for music events and sporting events, and we hope that this project can evolve and continue to attract the interest of the market in delivering a great outlet for the city.
Thanks, Councillor Tozer. Speaker against?
Thank you. Madam Chair, it's a confidential matter, so I can't say anything more than what I'm meant to, but I remain concerned in regards to the potential for certain sites to be used and what that might mean for the city going forward. So I didn't support it when we went out for the first expressions, and I don't support it today.
Okay. Do I have any other speakers for? If not, we'll take the vote. All in favour? Division. Thanks.
Councillor Gates, Councillor Curtis, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Castro, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Vorster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor O'Neill.
Against?
Councillor Hemmel, Councillor Owen Jones, Councillor Peter Young, Councillor McDonald.
That is carried, and now we can get the mayor back. Thank you. I'll vacate the seat. Okay. Any other items, councillors? Councillor Tozer.
Mr Mayor, I just wanted to call out 7.5 and move the committee recommendation.
7.5. Okay.
It isn't.
We'll go to 7.5.
7.5.
We're going to 7.5. Councillor Tozer, what do you want to do?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. 7.5 relates to Firth Park, Mr Mayor. And over the last couple of months, we have seen some plans circulated for a master plan at Firth Park. Firth Park is already the home of about 4,000 netballers of varying standards, up from 6-year-olds who are just experimenting with it all the way up to elite semi-professional netballers. And we're also 600 young rugby league players as well. We also have a really active lawn bowls club and a really active baseball club where state championships are still held, and it's actually a really great facility. And this project, or this item we're dealing with here, actually talks about a high-performance training centre, which represents part of the master plan. And I wanted to acknowledge, Mr Mayor, your contribution here. Initially, this master plan was funded by Local Area Works. We saw the opportunity to buy it as a city, and then my Local Area Works project local area works budget funded the master planning, but you kindly, by amendment, adjusted a small addendum to that local contribution to explore this high-performance training centre. And frankly, I've been really excited about the idea that about 4,000 square metres of floor space at Q100, which is flood resistant, could potentially deliver an elite gym. And the reason I really like this project is because there is already close to 10,000 people in the precinct, in the area, training and being involved in recreational sport from a very young age already. And the idea that some sort of high-performance training centre manager or owner would be able to help young sports people see a pathway to elite sport right in the heart of the city. This is an M1 frontage site. It's right in the centre of town. It's 3 minutes to Seabus Stadium. It's very exciting to see this move forward, and yeah, I'm hoping that we can see some further expression of interest beyond those unsolicited approaches we've already received about the site. I did have one question, Mr Mayor, if that's okay.
Did you want to move the motion?
I did want to move the motion.
Yeah, who was the seconder?
I think Councillor Jones seconded it, but...
Yeah. Did I have the seconder? There was? Okay. Councillor Owen Jones, good.
Yeah, my question was through you to Mr McAllister. The timing of this, could you give me some... I looked through the report a few times, but there wasn't really a clear picture of the timing that we were hoping to complete the probity plan and then get it to the market to commence.
Thanks, Councillor, for the question. So we are still doing some of the site investigation work, and then we would be, once we've completed that, able to run a market process. And if you wanted more detail exactly around the site investigation progress, then Darren Stewart's here and can update on that.
Okay, good. The question is probably a little bit more targeted. I'm obviously quite keen to see this project move forward. It's, I think, central to the Gold Coast, and it's a very exciting prospect. Is it realistic to think that the probity piece will be completed and some of the administration will be completed over the next 2 months or so pre-Christmas? And then is it expected that market interest might be sought before or after April next year?
Darren, would you like to answer that?
Through you, Mr Mayor. So the short answer to that, we're running an expression of interest process and then a tender, similar to what we've done for Screen Industry Project. I imagine what we'll hopefully be able to do is in the market early in the new year, we'll do some market sounding this side of Christmas, and then expression of interest will start early next year, and then something back around the expression of interest in April, and then obviously subject to council and confirming the process, we'd go to a tender.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think there's a lot of community interest in this, and the reason I ask those questions is because I think as interested parties may express interest, they'll want to engage with the local community in order to ascertain that appetite amongst local sports people. I'm very keen to make sure that occurs as soon as possible. So that's really where I'm at. If it can happen, to make sure that those sort of things can be assessed pre-election rather than post-election, I really want to be as transparent and engaged as possible about that. And I think the community expects us to be as transparent as well. Thank you.
Okay. Against the motion?
Just a question. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Could I just get a sense from you, or through you to the CEO, to city officers, just around what level of commentary may be appropriate, if any at all, from councillors during the expression of interest and tender process in order to protect the integrity of the process? I just don't want us to get to a position where an outcome is contested because any one of us have been weighing into the process while it's advertised and while city officers are carrying out their independent assessment.
Mr CEO.
Thank you, Councillor, and through you, Mr Mayor. I guess I would say the standard rules apply, Councillor, which is the city will put out a detailed set of public information, and councillors and city officers' comments should be curtailed to what is in the public domain and nothing more.
Right, thank you.
Against the motion? Councillor Tozer, would you like to close? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, carry, unanimous. Any other items separately, Councillor Tozer?
Mr Mayor, 7.6 was discussed at committee with a view to providing some additional information that was ultimately provided to councillors on Friday of last week. And if you're happy to accept it, I would like to move the officer's recommendation that was being considered by committee now that that information has been provided and some additional briefing information.
Okay. Move. Seconder, Councillor Gates? Or what? No, I'm looking for a seconder. Seconder, Councillor Lacastra. Councillor Gates?
Mr Mayor, I have a few more questions and I was hoping we could move. It's a confidential item and it's necessary to be in closed session for me to get the answers, if that's okay.
Okay. Will you move to close? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Patterson, put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Close. Officers, clear the gallery. Okay, councillors, Councillor Tozer's move the motion that's on the screen, seconded by Councillor Castro. There's a foreshadow motion from Councillor Owen Jones that's also on the screen. I'd say there's been a lot of debates in close, but I would invite Councillor Tozer to speak very briefly so that he doesn't breach the confidentiality.
Of course, Mr Mayor. The matter was discussed in confidential, and it'd be fair to say that there was views espoused from both sides of the debate. You know, every councillor listened to the other perspectives as best we could. Whilst I think we've probably galvanised our views in some ways, I want to make sure that people from the community know that international sporting organisations are expressing an interest in our city. They want to invest here, and we have made it our habit over at least the last decade that is we're open for business. And in the areas of sport, we're absolutely open for business. I hope that councillors will support this motion. I think, unfortunately, the foreshadowed motion really sends a very negative message to the market that I don't think is necessarily reflective of how councillors feel. But most importantly, there is no doubt that having this conversation has reinforced that the City of Gold Coast has the most generous and most aggressive investment attraction program around the world, probably at least around Australia, and that is a benefit to us. As soon as we start saying no to businesses who want to invest in their city, that reputation is not one we want. Today, I hope councillors vote for this motion.
Yeah. Councillor Jones, you want to speak in the open?
Mr Mayor, I accept a lot of what Councillor Tozer says, but we also represent the interests of all of our ratepayers, and there's a expectation that we will do our level best to make sure that every dollar that we spend is spent as wisely as possible. We have an enormous amount of challenges in front of us, separately to this particular investment opportunity. We know, and we've spoken publicly about, the huge gap in funding that the city has in the future in regards to our local government infrastructure program, and one of those networks that we're responsible for is the delivery of playing spaces publicly owned by the City of Gold Coast. And I know that there's a shortfall. I think we all know that there's a shortfall over the next 10 years, and that will need to be funded through either an increase in the debt profile, either an increase in the rates, or managing our budget as prudently as possible. So I don't quite agree with Councillor Tozer in terms of this sending a negative signal to everybody that wants to come to our city. We don't have to kiss every frog to make it into a prince, Mr Mayor. At the end of the day, we have to make slow, calculated decisions in regards to how we spend ratepayers' funds, and today I can't support the committee or the officer's recommendation, and I appreciate that that may not be shared by everybody, but they're my reasons.
Councillor Tozer to close.
Gosh, the kissing a frog to make it a prince just bit me just now. It was in debate in council, sometimes you hear these phrases and you think, wow. The organisation that we are talking about is an international sporting organisation with global headquarters in multiple locations that I can't disclose. This is not a frog turning into a prince, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, this is a significant investment that is... It is not that analogy is not appropriate to here, this situation. Mr Mayor, I trust that councillors will see the figures for what they are, see the profile of the organisation for what it is, and vote for this motion.
All right, councillors, the debate's closed. All in favour, show of hands. Divisions call.
Mayor Tate, Councillor Castro, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor.
Against.
Councillor Hemmel, Councillor Owen Jones, Councillor Gates, Councillor Peter Young, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Vorster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor McDonald, Councillor O'Neill.
Motion's lost. The foreshadow now becomes the motion. Put the motion to you. Seconder, Councillor Gates. Thank you for that. You've got the seconder in there? Okay. All in favour, show of hands.
Councillor Hemmel, Councillor Owen Jones, Councillor Gates, Councillor Peter Young, Councillor Vorster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor McDonald, Councillor O'Neill.
Against?
Mayor Tate, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Lacastra, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Young.
Did you vote, Councillor Curtis? Did you abstain? Okay, one abstain.
Curtis abstained.
Motion carried. Any other items, councillors? No? Okay, go back to the chair.
Mr Mayor, I remove the remaining recommendations of the Economy, Tourism and Events Committee be adopted. I believe they are 7.1, 7.2 and 7.4. Someone please correct me if I've missed one.
Okay, second to Councillor Tozer. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Thanks, Jeff. Consideration notice of motions, nil. Questions on notice? One. So they'll be shared throughout. Did you get the answer? Can you distribute the answer then?
Yes. Yep.
Presentation of petition. One. Councillor Peter Young.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that petition received, which is to stop the through flow of traffic on Mystery Road, Guanaba, be received and referred to the appropriate committee.
Second to Councillor Gates. Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against? Motion carried. Any other petition?
No. Do you mind if I just speak to that very briefly? I know we've adopted that, but just for the public benefit.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, because this petition was received and it was signed by 20 people. They're seeking the closure of the road for significant reasons concerning them. I published a Facebook post to advise the broader community that I was going to be presenting this petition today, and there has been quite a considerable amount of debate amongst the community, some of it healthy, some of it not, and I've invited people to provide their submissions to me, and I'll provide those in due course to the officers who will undertake the evaluation of this. So I just wanted to make that very apparent. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay. Now we go to general business. Mr CEO, it's nil.
Yes, nil.
Okay, other business?
Yes, we have Brian join us, which is going now.
Should we have a break? But lunch. Have a lunch. Yeah, that's all right. Have a lunch break.
Yeah.
We good to go? All right, we'll do 16.1 then.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay.
Just thought we'd provide Council an update on the hazard outlook based on the November to June period that we've received information from the Bureau of Meteorology and our own contracted service.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry.
What are
Sorry,
you looking
Mr.
for?
Mayor. So the outlook continues that we might see an extended bushfire season. So our increased threat for this year is bushfire. The national cyber system and hazard outlook remains also increased, and we've seen evidence of some of that this year and even as recent as this week. The heatwave outlook would indicate heat waves of potentially 3 to 5 days all the way through to January and March. Most of all of our other hazards as listed in the Local Disaster Management Plan are neutral, noting that there's a reduced threat of tropical cyclones for this year and flood, also given the reduced rainfall outlook, and what we've seen particularly in the rainfall event of last week was that most of that water just soaked into the soil, so, which was good and caused us no major issues. The only other call out is the severe storms. Whilst the reduce is limited, that we may actually see more destructive storms in the force of hail. So we're starting to see some storm activity predicted for the next few days. Not severe, but it's probably the first that we might see across the Gold Coast. And they're not ruled out dry lightning as well, so we'll continue monitoring that. I thought I'd just touch on a couple of the incidents that have occurred since the last update to Council. So Woongoolba Fire in August 2023, this was actually on Council land. It took out most of the estate and well responded to by our natural area conservation areas, Disaster and Emergency Management Unit and, of course, Rural Fire Service Queensland. So that fire burnt for approximately 8 weeks in the end, which was because it was in the peat through the ground. But another good successful test of our bushfire arrangements with both our consequence and our land managers working together with the fire service. The Tullabudgera fire earlier in the year as well. That fire was started on a property in around the area and burnt, luckily, in really good conditions, and actually had some fairly good conservation outcomes in the fact that it was burning in low conditions and effectively reduced a lot of the fuel within that area. Again, another really good response whilst on private and government land. And a number of really good community meetings down there at the Tullabudgera Rural Fire Station connecting with the community. Some of our preparedness activities, which should be aware, Mr Mayor, of course, attending and sharing some of those is our 2023 Preparedness Forum. We've had over 80 participants from a number of the agencies working through looking at our hazard outlook and them updating on their activities. The launch of our Get Ready program, which we've been out there and doing, the hazard reduction program, which will provide an update to committee in January this year, and a number of bushfire information nights at Springbrook, Coomera and Ogun as well. So that's been a connection between the city, again, National Area Conservation, Disaster and Emergency Management and the Biodiversity and Conservation Council. And they've been well attended by residents. Finally, we've done the city's first aged care forum. So we brought in over 20 of the aged care providers across the city and worked through site by site around the hazards within their area and then what are some of the actions that we took. And that was very well received, and that's now started a new network that we're doing across the city that's going to connect this and keep that work going and increase the resilience. And one of the interesting things that I guess the feedback from that session was they were very focused on their internal emergencies but not the hazards that sit around them, so that was a good outcome for the city. Our exercise program has wrapped up and we're certainly well into planning for next year. So we did a multi-agency DEMC induction, so all of our agency liaison officers have now been inducted into the new centre. Our flooding exercise program, and we also then stood up the Nerang Evacuation Centre over 2 shifts with our evacuation centres, and interestingly 4 of those staff were then deployed last month into Western Downs to bring that back, which I'll touch on shortly. The last one I just wanted to touch on, Mr Mayor, under your direction from the last LDMG, we held that exercise between Scenic Rim and the Gold Coast. Really good feedback, and it's understood that it's the first one in a long time because we don't share the police boundaries, that we got some really good outcomes with our evacuation decision making between the 2 councils. Our Get Ready activities are ongoing, and we've still got another 5 of those before Christmas lined up, but there's some of the examples around Feast on 5th, the Mudgeruba Show, Nerang Finanza and the Multicultural Day, and we're handing out a lot of the information. What some of the trends that we're finding is a number of the new residents of the Gold Coast are coming and talking to us, particularly around moving up from urban areas from southern states and trying to understand the hazards. So we're now opening those conversations every time with where is it you live on the Gold Coast, and we're giving really tailored information. So we've upskilled the staff to be able to answer that based on where they live on the Gold Coast. And finally, the support to Western Downs Regional Council, which I'm sure you understand, Mr Mayor, was so well received. LGAQ reached out to us when the fires in Tara started moving closer towards Tara, and there was people already in evacuation centres that then had to be moved across to Dalby, and we were able to ramp up as a city and have those supplies there that very night for people to be able to sleep on. We had 2 staff deployed that afternoon, rotated them through, and of course, Mr Mayor, bringing that experience back to our own evacuation centre management will be excellent.
Excellent.
Finally, the engagement and Gold Coast alert. So, as I said, we've still got 5 or 6 events locked in up until Christmas around our engagement, and really pleased to say that we're getting very close to the first 10,000 sign-ups for Gold Coast alerts, and of course we'll be doing a number of pushes of that leading into Christmas, but we're getting really good growth across most of the city, across people signing up to Gold Coast alerts. Thank you very much.
Good, Mark. Let's take some question. Councillor Peter Young. Oh, okay. Move. Seconder. Councillor Gail O'Neill. Put the motion to you. Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'll be brief. I'm conscious of the fact that we've got some great facilities, there's no doubt about that, but we've also got some great personnel. I'm really grateful for this report from Mark. Yeah. Mr Ryan, I think it's his first major report to us, and it's very welcome. He's got some great staff there. They're very dynamic and certainly very motivated. I appreciate the forward-facing approach that's been adopted in more recent times, as example by the presence at community days. I think that's very welcome. And I'm conscious of the fact, and I want to make mention now of the efforts of our volunteer fire brigades. They've been absolutely flat chat over the last 2 months, just unbelievable amount of work. I think we owe a lot to them. Thanks.
So?
Okay. Thanks, Mr Smith.
Councillor O'Neill.
Can I just add to that too, Mr Mayor? Our rural fireys are second to none, our volunteers, and we had 2 community nights during the Tallabudgera Valley Fire event. And can I say, Mark, that the feedback that I've got from the rural fireys, both Currumbin Valley and Tallabudgera Valley, really appreciate your collaboration with them, and we will be holding a resilience night and a thank you night for the rural fireys in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Mr Mayor.
Well done, Mark.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, carry unanimous. Mr CEO, are you ready for the next item, or do you want to have lunch?
No, we've only got one to go. I can do it.
You can do it? We're doing it. Mr CEO, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So this other business item is simply an administrative change that brings together 8 resolutions and 25 separate actions, all relating to our community facilities. The concept that has been put to council is that rather than continue to do this as 8 separate pieces of work, we bring this all together and that we do a single piece of strategic review around our community assets. I just want to make it very clear, though, that there isn't a perception, or a reality that we are going to stop any of the work that we're doing. I know there's community forums planned soon and town halls about some of these community facilities. This will all just be wrapped up into this process. There's no doubt, as we've set up Service Gold Coast inside the city, we've realised that we've got these multiple pieces of work going on, and there's an opportunity to bring it all together and produce one strategic report for how we handle these matters going forward. So I've just been, I think I know what this is. I think we have a conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest. Councillor Young, Peter Young.
Sorry, Mr Mayor and councillors. Out of an abundance of caution, I submitted 2 conflict of interest declarations, and I'll attend to those now because in both cases I'm seeking council's decision about my continued involvement. The first involves the fact that I'm the chairman of the management committee of the Nerang Neighbourhood Centre, which leases a property called the Burt Swift Community Centre at Nerang, and it receives an income from that. And so I felt that there was a conflict there. Under advice from the General Counsel, I've taken on board the fact that we're not making a decision about leases today, we're undertaking a decision about reviewing the whole situation, and her opinion, which I'm adopting, is that I should make that declaration and seek the council's decision on my continued involvement.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Procedural motion, anyone? Councillor Hamill?
Mr Mayor, I'd be happy to move that Councillor Peter Young may participate in the decision despite the councillor's conflict of interest, because the conflict is minor and remote in nature, and it is absolutely in the public's best interest that he participate in the decision.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Tozer. The motion to you, all in favour, show of hands.
Mayor
And
Tate.
those other people who's going to declare conflict, don't stick your hand up.
Mayor Tate, Councillor Hamill, Councillor Owen-Jones, Councillor Gates, Councillor Curtis, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Castro, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Vorster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor McDonald and Councillor O'Neill.
Against? And please put down the motion's carried and that Councillor Peter Young did not vote. Councillor Peter Young.
Second declaration relates to the Nerang Community Association, which has a lease from council in Bischoff Park, Nerang, for 2 buildings, the location of 2 buildings, which are operated for the community benefit. I'm a personal friend of the President and the Secretary of the Nerang Community Association and one other committee member of, and those names are listed. I'm seeking council's, I would like to participate in the decision because this is a matter of a general review, as explained.
Councillor Hamill, same motion?
Absolutely, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Seconder, Councillor Gates. Anyone speak against? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion. Oh, sorry, you got to count. Put your hand up, back up.
Mayor Tate, Councillor Hamill, Councillor Owen-Jones, Councillor Gates, Councillor Curtis, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Castro, Councillor Tozer, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Vorster, Councillor Pauline Young, Councillor McDonald, Councillor O'Neill.
Against? Okay, and Councillor Peter Young did not vote. Motion carried. Councillor Owen-Jones.
Mayor, I had a question to the CEO.
Right, just let me deal with conflicts. Any more conflicts? Question?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On page 6, when you describe some of the out-of-scope works, you referenced the Palm Beach Aquatic Centre, Greenheart, Coomera Civic Hub and the Kirkin Road Adventure Parklands, etc. And I was just wondering if you could confirm the etc. includes the Oxenford Men's Shed.
So they were, sorry, through you, Mr Mayor, so they were included because there's work already ongoing, and we wanted to make it very clear that we're not proposing to stop any of that work ongoing. Men's sheds are included from the purpose of the fact that they do rent community space, but the work that is already going on all initiatives will continue to go, including the one you've mentioned.
So Mr Mayor, just so that I'm really clear, so we've got a funded and a project that's in detailed design, and so whilst, and the reason why I ask is the attachment actually references the Oxenford Men's Shed, and it also references your mayoral minute, Mr Mayor, in regards to adding to the men's shed, and I would hate to be the person that voted today to support a review that then left the guys that have been waiting 6 or 7 years for an outcome further down the line. So I'll take it on board what the mayor, there's a promotion, what the CEO said in regards to the detailed
He's got the chair.
Planning. Thank you.
Councillor Vorster.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. And a question through you to the CEO. During this round of the Lifestyle and Community Committee meeting, we had a discussion concerning our forward program of reports, and there was a change recommendation that deferred consideration of a report concerning the delivery, redevelopment, whatever you want to call it, of a library service at Ormo. And during that discussion, I teased out the fact that there was actually a concurrent piece of work that had been carried out, and that was for the delivery of a new facility at Robina. There was a single package of work to look at both, yet the Ormo project found its way into the schedule before Robina. Seeing as the Ormo library and the Robina library are not listed as being out of scope, could I get a sense of whether you intend bringing forward a report to Council on the Ormo library and the Robina library before Council has had an opportunity to consider its strategic position on the delivery of library assets?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I thank the councillor for his question. In fact, what I would say to you, councillor, is that was the exact conversation which triggered our thinking around the need to do this piece of work, which is why it appeared late, and it appeared so late, so to speak. It wasn't in the main body. Our expectation is that the work that you've just described will be incorporated into the strategic review. What is out of scope is work where we've got plans on the ground and we're starting, and we don't want to stop that process. But where we're conducting reviews, similar to the one you've just described, that will be folded into this review. And it is, in fact, that discussion which triggered the thinking internally about the need for this work.
Okay. Another question. So, which should Councillor Foster?
No, Mr Mayor, I'm just happy to move it.
Oh, move, Councillor Foster. Second, anyone? What, Councillor Owen Jones? Councillor Foster, speak on that.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, as you know, we have a growing city, and a soaring population has put a lot of pressure on our community assets. And while it would be phenomenal to be in a position to acquire new land and to deliver the many hundreds of millions of dollars required for new assets at new locations, quite often it makes sense to make the most of the assets that we already have to meet short and medium term use. Now, the city has a number of facilities from the north to the south, in the centre and out west, assets that could be potentially better utilised by including new services, reinventing the way that community access those spaces. For example, could we make better use of our libraries by having certain sections that are open 24 hours a day, where people can click and collect books, for example? There may be ways of delivering better services at a lower cost to the ratepayer. And I certainly applaud this late item that's been put forward to us, because it gives us an opportunity to maximise the social utility of the assets we presently have on the books and meet the challenge of a growing population. We've had an accommodation review that's started and is ongoing. We've had a review into the way our organisation is structured. For me, this is the most exciting body of work moving forward, because it's our first opportunity to rethink, reinvent the way services are delivered, having done the hard work of getting the back of house in order. So I'm fully support this. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone speak against the motion? You need to close further, Councillor? Put the motion to you. All in favour, show of hands. Against, motion carry unanimous. As there's no other item, meeting closed at 12:50.